Okay? So just first sticking with this, how are we going to come up with the direct material and direct labor? What do you think? Starting with the regular pillows, direct materials.
You're going to take the $10 per unit
Yeah.
times 100.
Very good. Yep. So they give us what it is per unit for regular, $10 per unit, and they tell us how many units are actually going to be produced. 100. Simple as that. So we had $10 per unit times 100 gives us the $1,000 of direct materials for the regular pillows. And then what will we do for deluxe pillows?
14.
Yeah. 14 times the 100, sorry, this is equals the 1,400. Let me just change my pen tip. This one's
Bless you.
okay. And then what will we do for direct labor?
We multiply the amount per hour by the actual hours they worked.
Yeah. So what's the amount per hour?
$20.
All right, so for this problem, I'm going to go around and start asking. Okay? If you don't know, that's fine. We'll work through it. Now, Kamisha, what do you think? We've got $20 per unit per direct labor hours. Does it tell us how many hours it's taken them to actually produce the regular pillow? So we're just looking for how many hours, direct labor hours, did it take? It's in that last box of information that's given. Yeah, good job. So 7 hours is what it took for the regular pillow. So what does that come out to?
140.
140, yep. So it's in dollars, right? All right, now, Fania, what about for the deluxe pillow, for direct labor hours? 10, good, 10 hours, and then how much was it per hour? That one's up in the first box. So we had, that's direct materials. So that would, yep, 20. So it's the same direct labor, right? So we have $20 again for the deluxe, and it took them 10 hours. So for direct labor hours for this one, we have 200. Okay? Now what are we going to do? Now we have to figure out what our overhead costs are. So we've got overhead. And this is always the most challenging part. So Jasmine, where do you think we're going to start? That might not go in order. I'm going to bounce around, but I'll get to everybody. Where do you think we're going to start here? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, where do we start? We've got all of this information. First, we have to figure out this predetermined overhead rate. And this is where the lots of math comes into play. It's nothing more challenging than multiplication and division when we get to it. But it's going to be a lot of math. So we've got to come up with our predetermined overhead rate. And we're going to say by activity.
We should make a chart.
This would be a wonderful little Excel thing.
I agree.
Do you want to do it in Excel instead? It will just mess up my recording, but the bad thing with the iPad, there's a new app now that has some Excel capacity, but it's really not Microsoft Excel. Well, let's just do it out by hand on this one. But for when you're doing these, you might just want to do it in Excel. So we have purchasing, receiving, machine setup, quality control. Okay, so you've got to set up your activities. Purchasing, receiving, machine setup, and quality control. I'm just going to say QC. Okay? So Zara, How much is the total overhead cost for purchasing? Yeah. Yep. So it's giving us what the total overhead, is per activity. Okay? That's been given to you. This is going to be given to you. There's no way for you to really come up with that, but in the real world, that's really challenging to determine. So we've got 150 for purchasing. For receiving, we have, everybody sees where this box is coming from?
Yeah.
50. 250 for machine setup. And then quality control, 125. So if I were to ask you, with all this information, how much is total overhead?
Do you add them?
Yeah. So it's not asking you that, but good. You're just adding all of these overhead costs that are now allocated by activity. Before, in our traditional base costing, we were just seeing it in total. We didn't care about activity. It just said, here's total overhead. Right? Okay. Now what?
Divide.
By?
30,000.
Okay. So, good. It gives you the allocation base. You have to know what the allocation base is, and in these problems, it's going to give it to you. So it tells you number of purchase orders.
Smarty.
And where did that come from?
From
Chelsea, where did the number of purchase orders come from?
it says during the year.
Yeah,
30,000,
so it's given
in
to
the
you. It's
remainder.
going to give you what that base amount is. Okay, so all we have to do is to divide by 30 for purchases, because it says that's the allocation base, number of purchases. Then the number for receiving, numbers of shipments received. So all again in that same paragraph, right? 20,000 shipments were received. So that's our allocation base to allocate the receiving part of the activity. So we have 20,000. And then for machine setup, it says number of setups. It gives us 2,500 setups. And then for quality control, number of inspections, it gives us that 25,000 setups. Okay? So now this is going to be the predetermined overhead rate by activity level. Before, we were only looking at predetermined overhead rate in total. So we're going to come up with the rate. You can see more math, doing the math. Sarah Foley, did you already do the math for these?
No.
No?
I have the first three.
You have the first three? All right, what's the first one?
5.
All right, hold on. I'm just going to make this thing a little smaller up here. Oh, no, it's connected. Okay. So the first one, $5.
The next one's 2.5.
So $5. $5. Okay, and then the next
100.
one,
100.
receiving? 2.5 you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one is 100.
Oh.
She said-
100.
I was like 7 up.
No, you're just one ahead.
And then for quality control? 5. Okay, now here's the thing with labeling that I kind of got messy here. For purchasing, if I say $5, Jen, what is that? $5 per what?
Per purchase order.
Per purchase order? Okay, so we've got $5 per purchase order. How about the 250? 2.5, sorry. $2.50. Good. Per shipment. So this one here is per purchase order. So see, purchase orders, remember, if you're selling a product, you're initiating it through a purchase order. So each purchase order will be allocated the $2.50. Each shipment will be allocated the $2.50. The $100 is per setup. Okay, so it will be helpful if you labeled those. And then the $5 is per inspection. Okay? So now we have our overhead rates that we can actually allocate to what actually happened in this problem. So what happened in the problem? What's the next step? Sarah B., what do you think the next step is?
You have to add, do you want me to say it?
Sure.
You have to add the markups.
So we're going to wait for the markups until the end.
Okay.
So the markups have to do with the just total cost in the end.
So you multiply them.
Multiplying those by the numbers at the bottom box?
Yeah. So then, exactly. So here's the given information of what actually happened in this problem. Before, we're just looking at totals. It's just saying, here's the total overhead cost. This is during the year the 30,000 purchase orders happened. We're trying to talk about a specific order. Because why? Somebody came to this company and said, we need to come up with a bid for a competitive bid. They want to try to get the bid on, I don't know, maybe Super Bowl pillows. You know, like everybody's buying the pillows. But they're like, how much are you going to charge us? So they have to go through a cost analysis to say, here's how much it's going to cost us. Here's how much we would end up charging. So now we simply do the math. Once you kind of get this order in the head, it's just doing the math. So for purchases, how much are we going to do?
There are dollars for seven.
So we had purchase orders. Paige, what did you get for that? For purchase orders? So we know we have to use the allocation base of the $5, right? And then how many purchase orders actually
It's 35.
for regular?
Well, it's you take the $5 times the 7.
Good.
So
Yep.
35.
So see at that box that they're giving you the information now, you're going to use the, it's really messy, for purchase orders, the $5. So now it's breaking out by these products. We have regular again. All right, it's so hard to write on this thing. We have regular, and then we have deluxe. So for regular, it was the $5 times 7, because that's how many purchase orders actually happened. So what does that come out to? 35. And then we have, what's the next one? We're going to go through the activity process.
Shipment.
What's the next one?
Receive.
Received. And this is shipments received. That was the allocation base. So we had calculated, remember back up here, $250. So we have $250 per shipment received. And how many did they receive?
10.
Times 10. So what does that come out to?
25.
25. And then we have machine setup. So Jasmine, what would this one?
Machine setup is, for regular, is 300, for deluxe is 400.
Okay, so we had the $100 that we're using. The machine setup was 3. So we have 300. Everybody see where these numbers are coming from?
Yes.
And then what's the next one? Quality control. And what was that? $5. And what was that based on? Number of inspections. So how many inspections actually happened? 3. So what's that? 15. So now if you add all of these up for regular, what does that come out to? 375. I'm just going to put it up over here. And what does that number represent? Yeah. You've come up with the allocation to allocate the overhead for the regular pillows for this order. This amount that they're looking for. So we've come up with the overhead. We can put that right up in our overhead calculation, $375 for regular pillows. Right? Now for deluxe, we're going to do the same thing, right? So who could tell me quickly this one? Yes.
35 for purchase.
So for purchase, we have, again, $5. For deluxe, everybody see where this is coming from? Kamisha? Okay, we have deluxe, the $5, the purchase orders were 7 again. So if you just want to do these together, if it's just easier, receiving, again, $2.50, it's the same allocation base, times, what was the, 10 again, so we've got 25 here. For machine, we're going to use the $100, again, because that's the rate we have to use. And that was 400. And then for quality control, $5 per inspection. They had 420. So now what's the total for the deluxe pillows? 480. So that's what we're going to use as the overhead for the deluxe pillows. So we already knew what direct materials, we've already done the calculation for direct materials. We've already done the calculation for direct labor. We just did the calculation for overhead. So now we can come up with total costs for the overhead, or for the product. And what does that come out to for regular?
375,000.
What did you get?
You have to add. You have to
Oh.
use 15.
Who's it? Yep, 15. So what did we do?
Add.
We had to add the direct materials of 1,000. We had to add the direct labor of 140. And then we're going to add our overhead of 375. All of those together should give us 1,515. So this is total cost. Okay, and now what about for deluxe? Paige, did you get this one?
2080.
Yep. So what was this one? 1,400. My pen's a little bit bad here.
240.
1,400. What was the next one?
200 and 400.
200. Yep. So I'm a little bit off. So it's 1,400, 200 for direct labor, 480. What? Yep. 2,080. See where I'm getting that number? Now, unfortunately, we're not done because the problem did say, I think you said it, there was a markup.
Percentages, yeah.
So with the markup, what did they say? The company adds a 20% markup on deluxe pillows and 15% on regular pillows for its profit. So we figured out what the total costs were. They need to tell the company what they're going to sell these for. So for deluxe, they have a 20% markup, 15% on regular. So we're just going to multiply or add 15% to regular and 20% to deluxe. This has nothing to do with the costing. This is to get that selling price. So what would you get if you added those amounts?
You mean like 15% of 1515?
Yep. So add 15% right to 1515.
227.
So we've got, what did you get? 1515 times.
127.25.
Okay, so we're going to add 227, so that's 15%. 227.25. Who said that? Daniel, good job. We're going to add that to the 1515. So you should get 1,742.25.
Yep.
That look good? So all we did, we took the costs, then we've got this markup. The markup is what the sales price is. So if you think about it on an income statement, you would have the sales price would be a revenue that they got from the regular pillows would be 1,742.25, and their cost of goods sold. Remember, I have to tell you, my seniors right now are in a cost accounting class, and they're struggling with this. You've got to know what goes into cost of goods sold, and what's the cost of goods sold made up of? You just calculated it.
Direct material.
Mm-hmm. an overhead, right? That's what cost of goods sold is. So you, as somebody who in business is going to read financial statements, this is your cost of goods sold number, and that would have been the 15. And just, I know the problem isn't asking this, but what's the difference? So this is the revenue. This is how much they would have made on regular pillows. This is how much they cost them. Come on, what's the difference? We already have it up there. 227. 25. This is their gross profit. So the gross profit is that markup, right? So you can see, here's how much it costs, here's how much they're selling. That markup was just that gross profit amount. Okay, now when we do it out for the deluxe pillows, what do we get? I'm ready to write with my iPad on this thing.
$416.
416. Didn't calculate that one. Everybody agree with that? And then add that to the 2080.
2,496.
Good. 2,496. So that's the answer to this problem. Is, again, compute the bids for regular and deluxe pillows on a total order basis. So the bid for regular, they're going to say, okay, we're going to charge you $1,742.25, and for deluxe, we're going to charge you $2,496. And you, as the managerial accountant or whoever you are in the company, knows this is what it cost me. This is how much I'm going to sell it for. Or you, as the marketing person, when you're trying to tell your client, here are the prices, they're going to say, why is it so much? What's going on? And you can go into detail saying, well, these are the cost components of this. Okay?